The bereaved cannot communicate with the unbereaved. Iris Murdoch. We never have more than one bar. Our server is usually down. We overinterpret each star. But I never see more than one bear in the lights of an oncoming car as I walk from the bar into town. We've never had more than one bar. Our server is usually dawn. The velvet leash of sleep, Elizabeth Bishop. Do children in footed pajamas, fast in dark cribs and dark beds, replay unrestrained each day's dramas? Or do children in footed pajamas recite to themselves, amo, amas, dead language astir in the heads of the children in footed pajamas, fast in our cribs and our beds? The great day of the fire eater, or should I say, the day of the great fire eater, has passed. Harry Houdini. The labyrinth builder Borges seems to say the past is present now, and now, and now, and there is air enough for just one day. But the labyrinth builder Borges, who seems to say a lot of things, never singed his brow spitting butane in a sideshow or on stage. Only labyrinth builders like Borges are amazed by how the past is present now and now. When a thing disturbs your peace of heart, give it up. Muhammad. I try to call my mom and dad for Eid, misdial, and get instead an IED, then watch the cleanup via live news feed. I try to call my mom and dad for Eid, but my fingers are wet. God damn, a goat can bleed. Then Reuters, Al Jazeera, BBC. I try to call my mom and dad for Eid, and I misdial. It's a recurring dream. And finally, if you understood everything I said, you'd be me, Miles Davis. The last time I saw a queen's rook and a king's shake hands, that king's was shook. The last time I saw a queen's rook take a king's, that queen's was took. Can a queen's rook tell a king's rook anything? One last time, I was a queen's rook and a king's. So I'm going to transition to a set of thematic poems through a very short poem, which I wrote a couple years ago. In memory of Johnny Cash, the great poet, singer, songwriter, died in 2003. Very short poem, in memory of Johnny Cash. At the end of the world, I'll be nailing Jesus' hands to the tree. With a bright common sin, I have time to drive in before his blood sanctifies me. Bright common is a kind of nail, so you may know. The next poem I'm going to read is in the form, slightly adapted of the ghazal, which is an Asian and Near Eastern form, very important in languages like Arabic and Urdu. It's a couplet form, and the couplets all end with the same word or a couple of words, as you'll see here. And then in the last line, you're supposed to call out your own name somehow. You're supposed to refer to yourself. So this is a ghazal, and it's called Afghan. Afghan. You need an example of how this knotted world adumbrates the meanings of words? I have one. Afghan. 73% of American families possess greater than one Afghan. Most Afghans are legacies, passed down by rule. One grandmother, one grandchild, one Afghan. An allegory of justice. The magenta skein ends, yet there's enough hot pink left to finish one Afghan. Zigzags, stripes, and diamonds, lavender, puce, and lime. You've seen them all if you've seen one Afghan. Lamb's wool, viscose, alpaca, ramie, hemp, needles speak dialects, but the language is one, Afghan. At the World Trade Center, The bomb-sniffing dogs are shepherds and labs and collies, not one Afghan. Of 34 corpses on an acre in Helmand, 1 is American, 31 Afghan. In the knotted world's transcript, Daniel, words have greater than one meaning. 1 American, 1 Afghan. The next poem is a poem I did based on a translation by Nabokov of a great romantic poem from Russian by the great Russian poet Lermontov. Nabokov thought that Lermontov was one of the greatest literary artists of all time. And that poem in translation by Nabokov is called The Triple Dream. And I took it and I made my poem out of it. And my poem is called Dream, after Lermontov. Dream. I dreamt I took a bullet to the chest and fell in a poppy field in Kandahar. And poppy blood soaked through my Kevlar vest. And with each final breath, I called out, "Sarge?" No one responded. Nobody called my name. And when I tried to use my GPS, full-skirted poppy blooms leaned in to frame a dream more powerful than opiates. I dreamt that on a wall were posted pics of me and my fiancé smoking hash in my backyard, back home. 1,000 clicks on like and share had caused a system crash, and my fiancé scrolled by pixel light, but was not looking at her iPad screen, for its wet crystals gave her second sight, a dream, wherein my dream became her dream. And she could see the poppy field, my chest muddied with blood, the dust of Kandahar, and, already pinned to my Kevlar vest, blood wet, a purple heart and silver star. I'm going to read 3 more poems, 2 short and 1 long. The next poem is called Under the Dictatorship of Scent. In a country where poor dogs have 3 legs, I saw a poor child taunt a dog with gobbets of gopher, squirrel, or cat, or what have you, pink and wet at the end of a wire hanger he'd sunk into the flesh. He'd pull the meat away just as the canines splashed and shut on a fat hunk of wind, and the laughter this unleashed over and over again. The tripod tipped this way, then that way, its long, blind snout, its deaf, pink tongue, all but dignified now, purposeful, and not without some germ of pride, as if the poor dog had done well for itself, thank you, under the dictatorship of scent, and was not merely hungry, but acquisitive, capable of the things that things require. The laughter of the poor child trebled it into a Cerberus, which commandeered one surplus head for a prosthetic limb, with fangs for cleats and a jawbone quadriceps. And the god dog launched itself, 2 heads first, and heedless of the rot cube, launched itself at the limbs of the poor kid who held the end of the wire hanger, launched itself, and with each of 2 drooling maws chomped off an arm cleanly at a skinny elbow. Afterwards, the legend was the poor dog had but 1 leg and 1 head, and being all round belly, another poor child cut its tail off and ate it. It's bright, eh? Cheerful piece. The next poem is called Poem for Forgetting, which appeared in a magazine in Istanbul, Turkey. My first publication in Istanbul. Poem for Forgetting, which is kind of a joke, because poems are all about memory, you're supposed to remember them. A nightstick for the nursery, a parachute for the paraclete, a ball-peen hammer for an appendectomy, a corkscrew for a cat in heat, a pair of binoculars for heavy petting, and a poem, any poem, even this poem, for forgetting. Concertina wire for the kindergarten, freshly sharpened ice skates for the beach, for spying on your wife an Aston Martin. For sterile needles, strawberry-scented bleach. For nightmares, hand-knitted nettle bedding. And a poem, any poem, always a poem, for forgetting. Try red hair ties for holding forth. A summer paperback to scale a fish. Personal magnetism for finding north. A tourniquet to give the knife a twist. Garlicky oyster sauce for off-track betting. And a poem, any poem, especially this poem, for forgetting. A chain mayo Speedo for night swimming. Saran wrap on a roll beside your can. A penis for understanding women. Tactical nukes to take Afghanistan. Muddy, used duck boots for jet setting. And a poem, any poem, like this poem, for forgetting. A baby grand piano for your kayak. Red-blooded beefcake for your black eye. Silicone implants for Salma Hayek. Postcards of Fujisan for Hokusai. IV fluids because you soak your own wet bed. And a poem, any poem at all, a poem to forget. And now I'm going to finish with a long poem that I wrote in 1997, and I'm kind of ashamed or shocked in both that it still seems relevant. It's called Forrest Gump, starring Tom Hanks. It was one of the set that Nick mentioned. It's in 8 parts. It's based stanza by stanza and line by line on a poem by Osip Mandelstam, which was written in Russian, and I just took the Russian and I kind of tried to copy the shape of the sentences. I don't read Russian. But you know, you can see when things rhyme because they look the same on the page. Anyway, so this is called Forrest Gump, starring Tom Hanks, and if you know the movie, it'll help. Forrest Gump, starring Tom Hanks. This is the river that sees everything, a mirror even after our hearts have raced ahead like stones, trailing bubbles from the trench, while we, like Christ, step lightly to the other side. The stars reflected in it haven't seen shit, no matter what our horoscopes burn to say or with what conviction. Let's call them pilot lights, and then, like Christ, step lightly to the other side. It's hazy, hot, and humid. It's always been. The ripe sun reaps a free lunch, chef's surprise, and blindly X's the river's space with stitches like you'd get if you played hockey or Christ. Add to the list of humanity's successes, such as the internet and tax-free capital gains, Professor Christ's alacrity with extensions. This river never threatens when it rains. Anyway, the arcs are already built, and the pilots undergo yearly review in simulators that simulate simultaneous loss of power supply and crew. Gump, Forrest, Congressional Medal of Honor winner, this river's a grave. It knows your need for rest. It knows you're a talker, not a listener. Name a tectonic plate that doesn't practice mutually assured destruction, and then name one that really believes it won't survive, lips hot with fiction, pronouncing its new name, Gaia, and teaching the stars how to spell it, and using red lipstick to teach the stars. Infinitesimal decimal points queue up at the nursery window, one by one, to view the absolute value, still moist, spattered with sticky goose egg shards, a sun. A plane of planes defines the plain. Westmoreland's arms spread wide as a bunker. Our sons make the kind of news we'll call intelligence tomorrow and forever after the fighting. 3 points define us and our intelligence. We lost at Gendenfu. We won at My Lai. We slept through Tet. When our planes grew light, we ran from the orange glow, the fighting, which now seems like intelligence, which now seems as obvious and polite as listening to the zip of a body bag echo in defoliated night. Kuwait was an arabesque. We ordered extra pixels and kept our distance. Now Boeing builds us screen-sized nursery windows, and we queue up for take-home, trans, and mins. And the best thing for the kids is to invest in Boeing, in Raytheon, in United Technologies, in crop circles, in the memory of those we saved so much killing. Good night, moon. Good night, Min. The natural consequences of air travel, the duty-free purchases, the constant looking down like angels, the trenches filled with sand and pixels, the earth in red lipstick and burning refineries. Up here, we are as close as family, as angels crowding the heads of pins on strategic maps or bending wheat stalks toward the centers of circles. Our prayers are heard by the conservation of mass. Think of pixels as light infantry, of nights sweet chariots swinging low over white teeth busy ants have flossed. Think of the clicks of your mouse as friendly fire, your taut power cord as the string on a bow. None of us are whole, but none of us admit it. Instead, we find jobs in light industry and drink at home, watching TV as fine dust gathers on Tiny Tim's remote control. No one may use it now. That's what love costs. In film, there is the allegory of the bandage doctors slowly unwind from a patient's skull. Beneath the gauze, prepared to repel invasion, the still-lit pilot lights, the windows to the soul. In film, no patient refuses the unwinding, and the circle of doctors gasps at the miracles of dilating and contracting decimals, the irises, the blues, the greens, the browns of earth, of sight's ovaries, its smooth cojones. For truly, the skull has balls. It sees everything and says nothing, except, here's mud in your eye, some silence you can sell. Alas, empty sockets, you knew the patient well. Like soldiers fanning out in patrols, bright sparks leap from dark bivouacs with maps to the stars' homes that are drawn on ash, and they faint when they see the stars, twinkling in Hollywood or in poems. The only people we really know are extras. Not even Oprah will step lightly to the other side. But if the grave ahead outlives its reputation, it's not because our astronauts haven't tried. We pack our shuttles like phylacteries, with bright sparks of prayer, with smoky poems that read like intelligence. What with all the hurry to leap from our dark bivouacs to the stars' homes? Yes, my conscience contracts, but it has a half-life longer than Earth's embers, longer than chromosomes, and if I'm called upon to give a toast, I'll recite some optimistic poems. My heart, which I gladly drop into the river, clocks against the others on the bottom. I was born in the year 61. I was born in the year 69. And I try to step lightly. I try not to listen to such spheres' music. On my numb tympanum beats instead with an internal shiver. I was born at 7:30 a.m. on August 2nd in the year of sinus rhythm 1962. I will live to hear the lies of the third millennium. Thank you very much.